What's good, YouTube? It's your favorite flightless bird back here with another video. Have you been struggling in Warzone? You looking for a little bit more competitive edge? Today, we're covering over the best settings for console players in Warzone 2. Let's get into it. Alright, we're going to start with the controller settings that I run. Obviously, input device controller. This is where you switch keyboard and mouse, so you're running keyboard and mouse. But controller. Button default, I have default for the layout. Bumper ping, I have off. Flipping L1, L2, R1, R2. This just lets you shoot with L1, R1, or L2, R2, or the top buttons, whatever they are on Xbox. I don't remember exactly. I think I just call them right and left triggers. I leave mine default just because I don't usually play with my controller all the way in my hand. I know that sounds weird, but it's easier for me to reach the bottom ones instead of the top. Layout preset, default. Controller vibration off. I feel like having it off helps with gunfights and whatnot. Sensitivity, basically you're going to play anywhere from a 4 to a 9. Anywhere in between there, up to you. I play on high 7. I like, the fast movement and whatnot. Sensitivity for ADS, I run a 0.85. This just helps helps with tracking in game. Sensitivity multiplier, you can change this if you want. Mine's all default. Vertical aim access, again, all standard. I don't change any of that. Aim down sight, hold, don't change any of this. I have automatic tactical sprint on right now. We might change this to automatic sprint because the TTK is so fast in this game. You don't want to get stuck in an automatic tac sprint and then, not have time to get your gun up. Be dead before you get a chance to fire back. And there's no slide cams or anything, so there's really no reason to have tac sprint on. Mine's just on because I don't want to have to press the button every time I want to sprint. Tactical sprint, in my opinion, makes it easier to get to cover if you do start getting shot at, and it saves your controller a little bit of wear and tear. Hold, this is just, hold R1 to cook your grenades and stuff like that. ADS and melee, you can change this to double tap ADS or just ADS. The problem with having it on just ADS to mount is if you're like slow peeking a corner while you're ADS, you might mount onto the corner or the walls and it could cause you a gunfight. I have never had a problem with ADS and melee, so I don't plan on changing it. Interact, reload behavior, prioritize interact. This is just the closest thing to contextual tap as you can get from the last Warzone. This just makes looting a lot faster, so you can tap to open chests and pick stuff up. And you can also, if you're in a gunfight and you need to reload, you can tap to reload, stuff like that. Armor plate behavior, apply all, naturally. Go over to advanced, aim assist on, aim assist type. You either want default or black ops. This is the best rotational aim assist for if you're moving left to right. Precision and focusing is okay if you're trying to hit like drag scopes, but you lose a lot of the other aim assists. So I guess if you're a sniper, that might help, but I would just recommend black ops for most people. ADS aim assist, of course. Third person ADS assist. I don't play third person very much, so a lot of that's going to be irrelevant to myself. The gyro stuff I don't use, so again, irrelevant to me. Aim response, either standard or dynamic. These are the best two. Dynamic just makes standard a little more refined. I like standard a lot better. ADS sense for your focus. I run a slightly lower for this. This is when you're holding your breath with like a sniper. It just helps hit those more precision shots. Which, let's be honest, you're not normally trying to track a guy that's full sprint when you're sniping. So, transition timing instant. Custom sense per zoom, you can change it if you want. I leave mine off because I don't like having to try and remember what zoom I'm using for the sensitivity. I don't want to be having an iron sight with a 0.8 and then get to my 4 times on the RPK with a 1 and I'm all over the place and I can't track consistently. Dead zones, this is going to be based off of yourself and your controller for the most part. The best way to do the stick dead zones is to go into a game, open your map, and then lower them as low as you can until they start moving. When they start moving by themselves, put them back up, just a hair or two, and then that'll help get your dead zone where it needs to be. Left stick max, I put mine at 0.75, just so I don't have to push as far to get full movement out of the stick. Right stick all the way because I want to be able to move it all the way. If I want to turn completely 180 degrees, I shoot my stick to the right and turn all the way. Button dead zones, again, this is just where you're at. For the dead zones, I'm going to say if you get above a 0.10, maybe 12, it's probably time for a new controller. That's just my opinion, of course. Auto move off, tactical sprint, double tap. If you're not running automatic sprint or automatic tac sprint, this would be double tapping L3 or whatever button you're using. Grounded mantle off, airborne mantle partial. So basically, if I'm jumping onto a roof and the game thinks I'm going to fall, it will mantle automatically. If it does not think I'm going to fall, I'll have to do it myself, which is nice. It's kind of a little fail-safe. Ground mantle off. Invert slide dive. This is just tap to slide and hold it to dive. It's fine by me. Plunge in the water. Movement. Auto deploy for the parachute off. I pretty well know the map well enough now where I know how high I can be to jump off without dying. Taking a little bit of damage is not a big deal, but you know, obviously we don't want to fall to our death and pull a Tim the Tatman. Sprinting. This also helps before we move on. If you have it off, it's the best way to get to the ground as fast as possible. Like right now, everybody's going for the safe cracker missions. If you want to be the first one down and there's 3 teams and your auto deploy is on, you're going to pull your parachute a lot higher than most people. So naturally, you're not going to get the contract. But if you have it off, you can, you know, get as low as possible before opening your parachute. Sprinting door bash. Leave mine on. This just lets you sprint through a door. It'll break it open. As opposed to if you have it off, you have to open it a different way. Ledge hang mantle. Mantle only. Stick swap. Nope. Alternate control off. Weapon mount movement on. Weapon mount exit delay medium. Depleted ammo switch on. I don't know why you would turn this off. Basically, if your gun runs out of ammo, you don't want to have it out or use it in a gunfight. Quick C4 off. This just lets me throw both of my C4s before I blow them up, which honestly I don't carry a C4 very often anyways, but if you do, this might be something to think about. You just double tap square to blow up the first one if you want. Vehicle camera recenter off. This just lets you free look while you're driving, which helps, you know, like if you're pull up to a building, you can kind of turn and look around the corner. Kind of broken. It's always been broken, but you know, got to use it while it's here. Ping wheel delay moderate, double tap ping delay moderate, wheel menu behavior hold. Now into the graphics. On-demand texture streaming. I leave it on because I stream and you know it's high quality, so it just makes the game look a lot better. If you are having trouble with lag or maybe your game is crashing or lagging out, try to turn this off. That might help a little bit. World motion blur off. Weapon motion blur off. Film grain 0. Depth of field off. Basically, this is just going to make you look as clean as possible while you're using your gun. You don't want anything to be blurred. You know, you don't want to have a guy standing in the corner of your screen and then you turn and it blurs and you don't see him. Fidelity, CAS. Basically, this is just sharpening. Just makes things a little nicer. I run mine about 60. Leave it on. Field of view. A little bit of an argument, but I don't really feel like there should be. Most pros play between 95 and 120. That's multiplayer as well. I think if you're playing Warzone, you probably want to go, we'll say 100 to 120, give or take. I like mine about 108. 107 is pretty good too. I don't like odd numbers. You guys should know this. But if you don't, I don't like odd numbers for whatever reason. So I leave mine on 108. If you go to 120, the targets can get super small, which if you got good eyesight and whatever, that's great. You know, lets you see a little more around you. It'll also feel like you have less aim assist at 120 because the target's smaller, even though you're getting the same amount of aim assist. Just something to think about when you're setting your FOV. We run affected just because it keeps it nice and wide. Like I said, I want to be able to see everything around me. You can do independent and it'll give you that old school super zoom when you ADS. Weapon field of view, again, wide because I want to be able to see both sides of the weapon, you know, as much as possible. Third person field of view. I don't play third person very much, like I said earlier. So, you know, I have it on 90, but I don't really know. Camera movement, least for both of them. Third person ADS transition, third person or first person. It's nice that it gives you the option. So now you can do first person ADS, just like your normal game mode, where you're actually looking down the iron sights or whatnot for every zoom. I like the third person. It's just a little bit different when I'm, you know, getting tired of regular BR or whatever. Spectator cam, you can do game perspective or helmet. I think the helmet cam looks really cool. That's just me. Brightness, you can leave it, if you have a good TV or a good monitor, you can leave it default at 50. I'm playing on a TV. It's a little older, so I like to turn mine up a little bit. It makes the shadows not so bad. Safe area, a little bit of disagreement here. I run mine slightly smaller than my TV. I know some people like JGod runs his as small as possible. And what that does is just move your minimap a little bit closer to the middle of the screen. So basically the gray area that you guys see right there is going to be the corners of the mini-map, right? So if you feel like you're turning your head a lot to look away from your crosshair to look at the mini-map, maybe make the safe area a little smaller. That'll bring your mini-map in a little bit. Audio, I run headphone bass boost, but we all know the audio in this game is terrible. It's so bad. I don't know why, but it is. Master volume, I have it 100. Music, I have turned down to 80. Normally, I would mute this, but I leave it at 80 because the stream, if I'm on like a just chatting screen or whatever, and I'm sitting in a lobby waiting for the squad to get on, there's something playing in the background while I'm talking to chat. Normally, I'd have that all the way off, though. Dialogue, this is 80. This is stuff like enemy UAV overhead, enemy dropping into the AO, yada, 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 yada. Turn it down because I don't want that dude screaming in my ear the entire game. Effects volume, this is stuff like footsteps, I guess your cluster strikes and stuff. If the planes are too loud for you, I would turn this down a little bit. Hit marker volume, 100, because, you know, when you're in a heated gunfight, there's a lot of call-outs. I like to be able to hear my hit markers just to make sure. Like, of course, I can visually see them, but I also like to hear them just for a little peace of mind. Voice chat. If you are playing with a group of friends, please do everybody a favor and turn your voice chat volume down. You'll thank yourself. Your teammates will thank you. Everybody will be happier if it's just quieter. For whatever reason, the chat volume in this game is obnoxiously loud. Whether it's your chat, the proximity chat, whatever it is, crazy loud. As you can see, mine's on 48. It's pretty well what I found to be a nice balance where I can hear my teammates good, but they're not, you know, blowing my eardrums. Mono, audio off. Subtitles, I have them on for the campaign, again, because of stream. That link will be in the description, guys. If you haven't come see me live. But campaign on, everything else is off because what do you need them for multiplayer? Subtitles, this is all going to be, this is basically what you guys want, you know, more or less. It's a personal preference thing. Voice chat, of course, on. Game voice channel, all lobby. Has to be all lobby for you to hear everybody, including the enemies, kill comms, stuff like that. Prox chat on if you're playing Warzone, which is what we're talking about. If you want to be able to hear the enemy players, you gotta have it on. Microphone level, again, please do yourself and your friends a favor, mostly your friends. Turn your microphone down so you're not blowing their eardrums. Now everybody's happy. If you feel like 80's okay and nobody's ever complained about it, or 90's okay, or even 100, turn on test microphone and genuinely hear how loud you are. At 68, if I'm screaming, I'm loud. And I know that, but I don't generally scream like that. And if I do, we're all screaming, so it's not a big deal. Jug music off. Hit marker sound effects classic. Again, that's personal preference. I just like the way it sounds. I turn the jug music off a lot like all the other music, just so I can hear the actual game itself. Most of this is going to be personal preference. Default 20, short, English. Of course, if you don't speak English, select your language, you know, whatever. Color customization, this is one thing I will recommend thoroughly. Filter 2, it just kind of makes all the colors pop, as you guys can see in the picture here. So much better than default. Especially in the shadows, like this. So much better. Make sure it's set to both, of course, because you don't want it only the map or only the world. Set it to both. 100 on both. For the HUD color, that's completely up to you. You know, this is the colorblind stuff that we're used to. Whatever you want to do, I leave mine default because I like the way it looks. Subtitles, again, default. Subtitle size, again, that's all personal preference stuff. I can't tell you how you want it to be read or whatnot. Minimap shape, of course, as you remember from the last Warzone and anything else that has a map, you're on square because it's bigger. As you can see in the picture there, it's just a little bit bigger, and you know that can be a difference of knowing there's a person there or not if you have the UAV up. Rotation on. Horizontal compass on. I know some people play with this off for whatever reason. I guess it cleans up their picture a little bit, but please leave it on, especially if you're a person that doesn't use pings very well. You just forget about them or whatever. If you're in a gunfight and you get sniped from a building while you're sitting behind a piece of cover, you get down, you crawl behind the cover, and you can't get a ping off, you can at least tell your teammates, like, oh, he's east 94, you know, whatever. And then they have a general direction to look without a ping. That's the second best call out you can get. And of course, we'll talk about that in another video. Crosshairs, please leave them on. Centering is such a big deal, especially with the TTK so fast. You want to make sure that you have good centering, and you don't want to be aiming at the ground, because that split second of you having to raise it up or pull it back down, you know, from whichever it is, if you're too high or too low, the split second of you having to pull it up to get it on target will be the difference of you winning or losing a gunfight. So you really want to work on centering. Again, that'll be another video. We'll talk about that in the future. Hit marker visuals, I enjoy seeing them as much as hearing them. It's just nice to know that I'm actually getting my hits. Damage-based hit markers. In Warzone, I feel like this is a big deal, because if they have plates on, it'll be a certain color, and then it'll go to white when they have no plates. And if you've seen me live or even watched my other videos, you hear call-outs like, oh, I whited him, I broke him, etc., etc. And then, of course, it's red when you get the down. Player names, this is a completely up to you setting. I run full name. I just like to see the clan tags, honestly. You can do icon only, abbreviated, whatnot. Vehicle HUD, fade every 5 seconds. Server latency on, packet loss on. Clock, generally I have it off. I have the connection meter on. This just kind of tells you like your ping and stuff. Gameplay tips on, tool tips on, parallel effects on, center dot off. If you guys remember, try these tips and tricks in your next Warzone game. Let me know if they help. Leave me a comment. If you guys want to follow along this series and you want more tips and tricks, hit the subscribe button. If you want to see me live or you want to join the Discord, those links will be in the description, and I appreciate you.